Right now, someone out there is sitting in their car in the middle of traffic, staring out the window, thinking, I have everything I ever wanted, and yet I feel nothing. We live in an age overflowing with comfort, endless options, and digital connections. We can get food delivered to our doors, talk to people across the world in seconds, and scroll for hours through photos of perfect lives. And still, so many of us feel empty. A recent study from Harvard found that more than 60% of Americans feel disconnected from any sense of purpose, even though we're living in the wealthiest, most technologically advanced time in human history. It's like we're drowning in comfort, but starving for meaning. Jordan Peterson, the Canadian psychologist and author, says it's simply, life is suffering, and meaning is what makes the suffering worthwhile. Sinek, best known for his powerful idea of start with why, reminds us that people don't just care about what you do. They care about why you do it. It's the why that pulls us out of bed each morning. Viktor Frankl, a man who survived the worst horror imaginable in Nazi concentration camps, believed this more than anyone. Stripped of everything, beaten, starved, and surrounded by death, he still held on to one truth. There is meaning in life, even in the middle of suffering. In his legendary book Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." Frankl's story forces us to ask, if he could find purpose in the darkness of Auschwitz, what's stopping us from finding ours in our modern chaos? Because here's the uncomfortable reality. We might be safe, fed, and warm, but the battle for meaning rages inside us every day. Our world, despite all its progress, leaves many feeling numb, anxious, and searching for something deeper. So, is there really something strong enough to protect us from that hollow feeling? Something that shields us from the creeping darkness of modern nihilism? Stay with me, because this journey is about to explore exactly that. We're diving into how finding your purpose can become the shield you need to face overwhelm, emptiness, and even the worst moments life throws your way. And if Viktor Frankl could discover his why behind barbed wire and prison walls, imagine the power we all have waiting to be unlocked. Why are so many successful people miserable? We live in an age where comfort surrounds us. We've got fast food delivered in minutes, streaming services offering endless entertainment, and more apps on our phones than we can count. And yet, deep inside, countless people feel an emptiness they can't explain. We scroll through Instagram, see perfect photos of smiling faces, vacations, and fancy cars. But when the phone screen goes dark, the silence echoes with questions like, is this it? Is this all there is? Jordan Peterson, a psychologist whose work has inspired millions, believes the root of this emptiness is the absence of responsibility and meaning. He says, when you have something to carry, when you take responsibility for your own life and maybe even the lives of others, you find meaning that protects you from despair. Sinek, the leadership expert behind the idea of start with why, adds that people are drawn to those who know why they exist. He says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. It's the why that inspires, that pushes us forward even on the toughest days. But when we lose sight of our why, we risk falling into what Viktor Frankl called the existential vacuum, a place where nothing feels meaningful. Frankl, who endured unimaginable suffering in Nazi concentration camps, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, when a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure. Tony Robbins, one of the most recognized voices in personal development, echoes this truth. He says, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. This explains why some of the world's brightest stars, who seem to have everything, fame, money, admiration, were secretly drowning in a sea of despair. Anthony Bourdain traveled the globe, tasting the best food and meeting fascinating people. Yet, behind the camera, he struggled with deep feelings of emptiness. Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian in history, admitted that after standing on countless podiums and collecting gold medals, he faced dark periods where he felt utterly lost and questioned why he should keep going. Robin Williams, a man who made the whole world laugh, carried a hidden pain so heavy that he couldn't bear it any longer. His tragic passing reminded us that smiles can sometimes hide unimaginable sorrow. Chester Bennington, the voice behind Linkin Park's powerful music, sang lyrics that connected deeply with millions. Yet even he, who helped others through his art, was silently battling his own demons. These stories are heartbreaking, and they're not isolated cases. They show us that no amount of money, success, or followers on social media can replace a deep sense of purpose. The truth is, when we chase happiness or success as our only goal, it often slips further away. We buy things we don't need. We chase thrills that leave us emptier than before. We distract ourselves with endless noise because facing the silence feels terrifying. Jordan Peterson tells us that responsibility is the antidote to nihilism. That meaning comes from carrying a burden worth shouldering, whether it's caring for your family, building something meaningful, or standing up for what you believe in. Sinek emphasizes that clarity of purpose is not just good for businesses but for human beings. When you know your why, you become resilient. Life's challenges don't crush you as easily because you're anchored to something deeper. Viktor Frankl witnessed men and women in the camps who held on to hope because they believed they had something left to accomplish, a loved one to see again, a story to tell, or simply the dignity of keeping their spirit unbroken. He saw others who lost all hope, and their physical health collapsed soon after. So ask yourself, have you ever felt like your success was meaningless? Like all the things you worked for weren't enough to fill the silence in your soul? Because here's the truth, meaning isn't something you find by accident. It's built through choices, responsibility, and discovering your why. I'd love to hear from you. What's your why? Drop it in the comments. You might inspire someone who's searching for theirs. But what if meaning could be created, even in suffering? Let's explore that next. Imagine living a life stripped of freedom, comfort, and hope. Viktor Frankl knew this reality all too well. He was a psychiatrist who endured years in Nazi concentration camps, where people were starved, beaten, and faced death daily. Yet, even surrounded by unspeakable suffering, Frankl discovered a powerful truth. We may not be able to control what happens to us, but we can always control how we respond. He wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." That's spiritual freedom. Jordan Peterson, who's deeply inspired countless people worldwide, says that suffering is a fact of life. But how we carry it, that's what separates despair from resilience. He says, pick up your burden and carry it. It will give you purpose. Sinek echoes this, saying that even in the darkest moments, finding a why is what keeps us moving forward. People who know their why can endure almost any how. Deepak Chopra, a doctor and spiritual teacher, connects this idea to the very biology of our bodies. He says, purpose isn't just an idea, it changes your biochemistry. When you align with your purpose, stress hormones decrease and healing begins. It's amazing to think that discovering meaning doesn't just help us emotionally, it physically transforms us. Eckhart Tolle, known for teaching presence and stillness, reminds us that pain often comes from resisting the present moment. He says, when we accept the now, suffering transforms into a gateway for growth. Frankl noticed, even in the camps, two kinds of people, those who gave up and those who held on to something bigger than themselves. The ones who survived were often those who found purpose, even a tiny one, to keep going. Let's look at people in our world who turned unimaginable pain into purpose. Malala Yousafzai was just a young girl in Pakistan when extremists tried to silence her by shooting her in the head simply because she wanted to go to school. But instead of letting fear define her life, Malala chose to keep fighting. She became a global voice for girls' education and won the Nobel Peace Prize. Her courage shines like a beacon for millions. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison under a brutal regime. Yet, he emerged not with hatred but with hope. He forgave those who imprisoned him and led South Africa toward freedom and reconciliation. Even after nearly 3 decades behind bars, he said, I am fundamentally an optimist. Mandela's legacy is a tribute to the idea that no walls can imprison the human spirit. Stephen Hawking, one of the most brilliant minds in science, was diagnosed with LS and told he had only a few years to live. Instead, he lived for decades, sharing insights about the universe, writing books, and inspiring millions, all while confined to a wheelchair and speaking through a computer. His body weakened, but his purpose burned brighter than ever. John McCain, an American war hero, spent over 5 years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam, enduring torture and isolation. Yet, he held on to his principles, refusing an early release because he wouldn't abandon his fellow prisoners. His story speaks of choosing honor over self-preservation. Terry Fox, a young Canadian athlete, lost a leg to cancer. Instead of surrendering, he decided to run across Canada to raise money for cancer research. On one leg and a prosthetic, he ran over 3,000 miles before cancer forced him to stop. His marathon of hope continues to inspire people worldwide. He ran with one leg, but his spirit ran beyond borders. These people show us that suffering doesn't have to break us. It can be the spark that lights up our purpose. So let me ask you, has pain ever given you a reason to keep going? A purpose you didn't see before? If it has, you're not alone. Sometimes, the worst chapters of our lives become the very pages that write our strongest stories. I'd love for you to share your story. Someone out there might need to hear it. Because up next, we'll explore how to turn that purpose into daily action and how even the smallest steps can fill your life with meaning. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." This truth lies at the heart of living a meaningful life. Because finding your purpose isn't just a beautiful idea, it's the difference between feeling lost and waking up each day with courage and hope. Jordan Peterson teaches that meaning comes from responsibility, love, and the small acts we perform every day. He says, "Meaning is not happiness. Meaning is the path you walk when life is hard." And let's be honest, life will be hard sometimes. Simon Sinek takes this idea and turns it into a practical compass for daily life. He reminds us, your why is your filter for decisions. It's what makes life worth living. When we know our why, we're less likely to be blown around by every problem, every critic, every unexpected challenge. Viktor Frankl believed that even in the darkest places, love can be the spark that keeps us alive. He wrote how even in Auschwitz, thinking of his wife's face gave him strength. That's how powerful love is. It becomes a reason to endure the impossible. Elizabeth Gilbert, author of Eat, Pray, Love, reminds us that we don't have to chase grand dreams right away. She says, follow your curiosity. Even tiny passions can reveal purpose. Sometimes meaning grows from small seeds, like learning a new skill, helping a neighbor, or simply being kind when it's hard. Esther Perel, a renowned relationship therapist, teaches that our connections with others are where we often discover the deepest parts of our purpose. She says, in relationships, we find mirrors for our meaning. Whether it's love, friendship, or community, relationships are where purpose often blooms. Deepak Chopra adds a powerful layer, connecting purpose to our biology. He says, purpose is alignment of spirit and biology. It's where your body, mind, and soul agree. Finding purpose isn't just emotional, it's physical health, mental clarity, and spiritual peace all working together. Purpose doesn't always look heroic. It's not only found in huge achievements or public successes. Sometimes it's as simple as holding someone's hand when they're afraid, or choosing kindness over anger when someone cuts you off in traffic. Howard Schultz, who grew up in poverty, found his purpose in creating spaces where people felt connected. He turned that why into Starbucks, a place meant to be more than coffee, a place where community matters. J.K. Rowling, once a struggling single mother on welfare, felt worthless and hopeless. But she poured her pain into writing Harry Potter, giving millions a story of courage, friendship, and fighting for what's right. Her why lit up the world. Sheryl Sandberg faced unimaginable grief when her husband suddenly died. In her darkest days, she wrote Option B, helping others navigate loss and find new strength. She discovered that purpose can rise even from heartbreak. And Jordan Peterson himself, after battling severe health issues and deep personal crises, returned to share his message with millions. His journey reminds us that purpose isn't something you have once, it's something you rebuild again and again through the storms of life. Each of these people turned their why into action. They didn't just think about purpose, they lived it. Even when they were scared. Even when everything seemed impossible. Purpose isn't a magic cure that makes life easy, but it makes life worth fighting for. It's the reason to keep going when everything inside you screams to give up. So let me ask you, who or what gives your life meaning? Think of someone you love, a cause you believe in, a dream that won't leave you alone. That's your why calling you. And here's the good news, you don't have to change the whole world today. Just take one small step. Smile at a stranger. Lend a hand. Write the first sentence of that book. Call someone you've been thinking about. Because meaning grows in the soil of small, consistent actions. Share your why in the comments. You might inspire someone else who's searching for theirs. All throughout history, people have asked the same questions. Why am I here? What's the point of all this? For some, those questions feel heavier today than ever. We're surrounded by comfort, technology, and distractions, but many still wake up feeling empty inside. Viktor Frankl, who survived horrors most of us can't imagine, taught that meaning is not something given to us, it's something we discover, even in the darkest places. He proved that even behind barbed wire and in bitter cold, the human spirit could still find a reason to keep going. His words echo through time. Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. Jordan Peterson reminds us that life is full of suffering, but meaning gives us the strength to endure it. He believes that taking on responsibility, even when it's hard, builds a bridge over chaos. His journey back from personal struggles to helping millions proves that purpose can be rebuilt, even after we fall. Sinek tells us that our why is more than just a personal mission. It's the compass that guides our choices and connects us to others. Whether in business, family, or everyday life, it's the why that makes us resilient when the storms come. We've heard stories of people who turned pain into purpose. Howard Schultz built Starbucks to give people a place to belong. J.K. Rowling, at her lowest, wrote a story that inspired millions. Sheryl Sandberg transformed grief into hope for others. Malala Yousafzai stood up for girls' education even after a bullet tried to silence her. Nelson Mandela walked free from prison, carrying forgiveness instead of hate. Stephen Hawking stared down a devastating diagnosis and kept reaching for the stars. John McCain refused to abandon his fellow soldiers, choosing honor over his own freedom. Terry Fox ran thousands of miles on one leg so others might live. And Viktor Frankl found light in the deepest darkness. These aren't just famous names. They're proof that meaning is stronger than pain, and purpose can rise even from ashes. Purpose isn't some giant mission waiting in the future. It can begin today in small choices, kind words, and the quiet decision to keep going when life is hard. So I want to ask you, what is your why? Think of the people you love, the dreams you hold, the values you defend no matter what. That's your why. And holding on to it might be the strongest shield you'll ever carry. If this message spoke to you, consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing your why in the comments. You never know who your story might help. Because no matter how dark life may seem, there's always meaning to be found. And that meaning is the light that guides us forward.
Hey, incredible growth seekers. Wow, what a journey. If this video resonated, subscribe now for more life-changing content. Join our community of self-improvers. Smash that like button to fuel more content on mindfulness, goal setting, and emotional intelligence. Share this video to create a ripple of positive change. Comment below about your growth journey. Your insights shape our content. Next week, boosting self-confidence and overcoming limiting beliefs. Don't miss it. Every interaction brings us closer to a world of empowered individuals. Let's make personal development global. Stay inspired, keep growing. Your best self awaits. Let's unlock it together.